Okay, everyone, we apologize for not having any opening music today. We had a last-minute setup here, and things are just a little bit wonky today.
Don't blame me, I was here early.
Okay, so I walked in a little bit late. Who cares? And I should normally have I would usually carry the music, but unfortunately not today. So anyway, welcome back to the Atheist Experience. We are being sponsored by the Atheist Community of Austin, a nonprofit educational organization promoting positive atheism and the separation of church and state. We have weekly meetings every Sunday at the Hot Jumbo Bagel Shop, which is 307 West 5th Street between Guadalupe and Lavaca. Those usually start around 10:30 or 11, more like 10:30, and go on typically until it closes, which is 12:30. And that's every Sunday, except for the first Sunday of the month, where we have our lecture series at the Austin History Center on 9th and Guadalupe. That is the first Sunday of every month. Our next speaker, is it Jeff? Yes, Jeff. Yes, Jeff D.
Transhumanism.
Jeff D. will be speaking on our first Sunday, whatever that happens to be. I think it's the first, actually. And yes, he'll be speaking on transhumanism. So that should be very interesting. Okay, apart from that, we also have on Monday nights our Godless Gamers, which is hosted by this guy, Russell Glasser. And it's every Monday night starting around 7 o'clock. On Monday nights at 7 o'clock, typically going till around 10:30 or 11, maybe a little bit later, a little bit earlier. Play board games, role-playing games, card games, anything that anybody happens to bring that night. Lots of fun. Last week was actually a big old party. One of our crew members actually, is moving away, and so she will be missed sorely.
Bye, Andy.
Goodbye, Andy. We miss you if you're watching. So it was a going-away party for her, a gamer's night, and also a birthday party for me. So it was a good turnout. It was a great fun. It was a lot of fun night. But that's, like I say, every Monday night, 7 o'clock, his place. So if you go to the website and just email the webmaster, which he is also, he can get you information on that.
Atheist of many hats.
Yes. Except today, I'm hatless.
So, okay.
And your co-host hat.
Well, that's true.
Co-host hat. Instead of a normal producer hat or non-profits hat. Non-profits. Every Saturday at atheistnetwork.com, we have our internet radio show, the non-profits, which runs from 2 to 3:30 every Saturday. And that is usually these two on it, including Jeff D. They talk about the latest news and reviews and atheist gossip and talk. So an hour and a half of usually very
the next episode is actually later than July 5th.
What is that?
There was a caption up just now that said July 5th.
Okay.
2 weeks from yesterday will be the next episode.
Okay. It's every other Saturday. So the next one, it was just the 16th. So whatever, the 20th, I guess. So, no, 27th.
No.
Apparently. Something like that. Anyway. Okay. Also on Thursday nights, we have our Atheist Happy Hour at Antonio's Tex-Mex, which is on the feeder road of I-35, just south of 183. That's at around 7:30, and it goes until whenever everybody leaves. Just ask some of the waiters around there. They typically know where we are. Also, sometimes I'll have a little atheist fish on the table, so just look out for that. That's usually lots of fun also. So, okay, am I leaving anything out? We've got the Sunday meetings, we've got the happy hour, we've got the gamers, we've got the radio show. We've just got lots of stuff going on every single week. We are the fun group. So, okay, well, welcome back to the show. We are very pleased to have you here. We will be going now over to Russell, our co-host, to get started on some of today's news. And
okay, well, I'm going to start up with an update on a story that we did last week, in which a woman was pulled over Well, okay, I was not here last week, but I was there in spirit.
Okay.
Well, you know.
Last week you read a story about a woman who got pulled over and she was breastfeeding her baby while driving. The interesting part is that she wouldn't pull over because she belongs to a religious sect where she had to consult her husband before making major decisions like that.
Like pulling over for the law?
Like pulling over for the cops, for the police.
She was found innocent on Friday of child endangerment charges for breastfeeding her baby while driving, but she was convicted of 3 lesser charges. Catherine Nicole Donkers, 29, was found guilty of violating child restraint laws, driving without a valid driver's license, and fleeing police while on the Ohio Turnpike in May. Judge Donald Martell said he would postpone sentencing to Donkers because I feel I need to know more about you, which apparently is judge code for, lady, you're freaking nuts.
We hope so.
He issued his ruling.
The problem here is that one of their defense points was that in Ohio, I think, which is where they actually came from and not where they were caught, the laws on child restraints are a little bit different. They say that, children in the car have to be restrained unless you're breastfeeding. And so technically,
What?
Yeah.
You can...
Now, chances are what they meant in that law is that passengers, people in the back seat, to quiet the baby down or something like that, to make it safe inside the car, you can breastfeed them to make it safe.
Yeah.
Probably they didn't mean the driver at the time.
But they didn't specify.
Exactly, they didn't specify. Darn that common sense.
Donker said Thursday that for a short time she took both hands off the wheel to move the 7-month-old girl while the car drove in cruise control at 65 miles per hour. Quick tip for drivers: cruise control is not automatic does not steer. I don't believe there was any form of recklessness, she said. Donkers and her husband, Bradley Barnhill, who lack a marriage license but claim to be married, belong to the First Christian Fellowship for Eternal Sovereignty. The organization, which pledges allegiance to Jesus Christ, was founded in Henderson, Nevada in the 1990s. Barnhill says that he is a minister in the fellowship, which has 650 followers.
And they're a real wacky group, too.
Yep. Donkers had said she did nothing wrong and was following her husband's orders while she drove alone with the baby from Pennsylvania to Michigan.
Drive faster.
I called my husband. This is after there were police behind. After she realized the baby was hungry. I called my husband and he directed me to continue on, to drive to Michigan and nurse my child in the car. State police had pursued Donkers for several miles on the Northeast Ohio Highway before she stopped. She insisted on speaking to her husband before cooperating.
Okay, stupid people of the world abound. And those are 2 more. And like I say, I've seen their website, and, regardless of how you may feel about the current administration, these people are just complete wackos. They're saying that the federal government is the beast, and, it is their job to, fight the beast and any of their minions. And their minions are like the FCC and stuff like that.
Yes, but they don't have any problem with cell phones and computers.
Apparently not.
Yeah. Fight the evil government that's trying to stop you from hurting your child in a car accident.
Exactly. I don't think those child safety laws, I don't think are meant so you can breastfeed, while driving. So, okay.
And they were worried about people talking on a cell phone. She's doing both.
Yeah.
Let's see exactly how obnoxious a driver can be.
I'm not distracted. I'm on the cell phone, not holding onto the wheel, holding onto the baby, looking behind where the cops are.
What should I do? Duh. Pull over.
What's this pedal on the middle do?
Is there a law against juggling while driving?
Well, she's only got 2 hands.
Speaking of wacky people.
Oh, dear.
Roy Moore's back in the news. Blah, 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 blah. The judge told him again to remove the monument. He said no. Big shocker. I have no intention of removing the monument, Roy Moore said at a news conference. This I cannot and will not do.
You want to bet?
He may not do it personally, but it's going.
Will not.
The irony of this is that, if you or I violated
Yeah.
a federal court order, you get slapped in prison for contempt of court.
Exactly.
Yeah.
How come Roy Moore is not in prison?
He's still a judge, even.
Yeah, he's still a judge, and now what they are saying is that they may end up fining him like $5,000 a day.
And they're going to find a state.
Exactly.
Can you
because
let me
it is
finish reading that in the news story?
we
U.S.
wanna steal it
District
from you.
Judge Myron Thompson of Montgomery, who ruled the monument violates the Constitution's ban on government promotion of religion, had said fines of about $5,000 a day could be imposed against the state if the monument were not removed.
Yes. So his wallet will not be affected.
Yeah. I
Okay.
mean, if they fined him personally $5,000 a day, maybe that would make some difference.
Yeah, that'd change his mind.
Moore, in his August 14th news conference, stated, "I have no intention of removing the monument of the Ten Commandments and the moral foundation of our law. To do so would in effect be a disestablishment of the justice system in this state. This I cannot and will not do."
Okay. Normally, this is a very family-oriented show. We try and keep it, calm and cool and collected and nice. So just, turn down the volume, mute it. When I go like this, you can bring it back up. Roy Moore is just a freaking moron in this case. To go through all of this, now I have another story on that. I'm not going to read the whole thing. Just one or two, choice quotes here. And where is it now? Moore pledged to ask the Supreme Court to overrule Thompson and said the promised fines would add to the approximate $125 million the state has already spent defending the monument's place. The state is spending $25,000 per day of taxpayers' money on the case. This is what Moore says. Now, he could solve all of this by taking the frickin' monument out, which has been ruled by 2 different courts that it's illegal. And if you look in the Constitution, it's illegal. And if you look at the frickhead here, Moore, who's actually going on about this, what he said, essentially in the court documents, I've read over most of the case, he's basically saying that the only real religion is Christianity. All the others are just beliefs or faiths or some fuzzy little thingy. And so essentially, if you walk into his courtroom, if you're not a fundamentalist Christian, you are not getting, you're not an equal, essentially, is how you're going to feel if you walk into this courtroom. They've got a 2.5-ton monument the size of a freaking washing machine sitting in the front of it. They've got plaques up around the wall of different biblical quotes and stuff like that. Another Ten Commandments plaque actually on his wall behind him, I think. Like I say, if you walk in there and it's, let's say...
going before the Inquisition.
Exactly. If this guy's sitting behind the bench, do you really think that you're going to have a fair trial if, it has anything to do with religion whatsoever?
Yeah.
Now, if it's a speeding ticket, that's one thing.
Well, I happen to know that there have been trials from a couple of years back in which Roy Moore clearly let his religion strongly influence his opinion. For instance, there was a custody case from another state where a mother who was a lesbian, her ex-husband got her dragged into that state so that she could be put before Moore, who believes that homosexuality is an abomination, and the judge yanked the child away and awarded custody to the father,
who had been convicted of child abuse or domestic
I don't remember
violence.
that part, but whatever it was, apparently it's
he actually
much
had
better
a history
than being a lesbian.
He actually had a history of, I think, beating his wife or abusing children or something like that. And so they figured that he was a better role model for this kid than the wife, who happened to be lesbian.
Very sad.
So you can come back now.
At least you didn't forget to bring him back. I was like, is he going to raise his hand or not?
Anytime today, come on.
And the Red Sea parted. Meanwhile, there was a rally this week with people on both sides coming to speak out for their particular position on the monument. Thousands came from as far away as California and Virginia to voice support Saturday for Chief Justice Roy Moore in his battle with the federal courts to keep a monument to the Ten Commandments in the state judicial building rotunda. Why are we here? We're here because we believe that our God has been insulted, said Reverend Rick Scarborough, president of Vision America, which sponsored the rally. Larry Darby, state president of American Atheists, said state directors of his group from Georgia and Illinois also came to protest the monument. Lindsay O'Connor of Birmingham, also with the atheist group, said she believes Moore should obey court orders just like any other citizen. This is not the kind of cause where you break the law, she said. Among the members of American Atheists holding signs and banners was Randall Gorman, 60, a retired technician from Texas. This didn't happen because of the Alabama legislature or the Supreme Court, Gorman said. It happened because of one man who's imposing his religious views on everyone. That's not America. America is diverse.
No kidding. Excellent.
Good job, Randall Gorman.
Yes. They also had something else in that case. I'm trying to think what it is. Oh, yeah. They very likely had notes in there saying they might impose a $5,000 fine, which could...
Per day,
which could double every week until it's taken down. So it could be $10,000 starting the week after that per day. Now, also...
I bet Roy Moore is shaking.
But
he's probably seeing it as a justification that the people of Alabama are willing to pay for his monument.
We'll keep collecting taxes. They don't have a problem with it. But also, we can kind of hope for this. He is the Chief Justice.
Yes.
But they have the other justices in that court also.
Right.
If they get in a majority and overrule him, they can have it taken out. So he does not have final say on this.
I was talking with Manda and this last week, and what she said was that what somebody ought to do is just go in there with a sledgehammer and help them. It's not supposed to be in there anyway.
Yeah, but it would still be a criminal action to destroy it.
So is it a perfect plan? No.
Not perfect.
Well, you could sneak in the middle of the night saying we really might put it in there.
Yeah, that's how they put it in.
Yeah, that's how you.
And you walk in with a hammer and chisel and just chisel in a few more.
Well, you're going to have to do some heavy swinging. That's a big rock.
True. Well, I'm just adding add a little something to it,
Yeah, just chip.
Yeah, I mean, the first
Congress shall establish no law respecting an establishment of religion.
There you go. The first four commandments are not secular in any stretch of the imagination. No, I am thy only God. So if you just go in there and you just cross those out. Then I have a little bit less of a problem with it.
You go in there and put
it's a monument saying don't kill,
George
don't
Carlin's
kill.
version of the Ten Commandments
exactly,
on
which
there.
is like
two.
Yeah, 2 or 3.
Narrowed it down to 2.
And whenever people talk about what a bad idea this monument is, the inevitable response is, what's the matter? You have a problem with thou shalt not kill? No. I have a problem with the commandments that establish Judeo-Christian gods as the supreme ruler.
Exactly. And what is it I've heard you say a couple times? Thou shalt not covet.
That's un-American.
Exactly. America was founded on coveting.
System.
It was founded on coveting. So,
Vic, you want to do one of yours?
Oh, my Atlanta. Well, more creationist nitwits are in the news on a daily basis. In Texas, the science biology textbooks are coming under review from the State Board of Education, and the anti-evolution creationists, who will now call themselves intelligent design.
Ah, yes.
Now, intelligent design is just creationism dressed up in a new suit.
Yeah.
But they've got a campaign going to try to get intelligent design posted in textbooks alongside evolution as a competing theory, except that there's no theory.
Yeah, there's no theory.
It's not a theory, it's just creationism dressed up in a new suit.
Yeah. It's basically saying, of evolution, nuh-uh.
You have to have something very specific to be called a theory.
Yeah, that's
intelligent design intentionally does not have that.
Yeah.
No, they don't have, and there's not one single article posted or anywhere in any scientific journal that supports intelligent design. You know why? Because they don't care about that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The only object is to go straight to these school boards and these review processes and try to inject this as, well, we only want fairness in teaching. Creation is not science. Period.
Yeah.
We don't teach Holocaust denial in history class to give equal time to different points of view.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
But the board member, Terry Leo, had a strategy meeting with the Discovery Institute. Discovery Institute is a think tank from Seattle, Washington, and they're mostly responsible for this big push for intelligent design. And so the board member of the Texas Board of Education has a strategy meeting with these people prior to the hearings to figure out how this, and what reports are coming out
This
is that
our board here in Texas.
our board here are meeting with the Discovery Institute prior to meetings, because there have been some meetings already.
Yeah.
And what's happening is that when evolution proponents and doctor or teachers and scientists get up there, they're asked these scripted questions that come straight out of the Discovery Institute's pamphlet of how to get intelligent design in your school.
Yeah.
And then
So the big shot non-biologists like William Dembski, there's no chance that they'll actually come down here or anything, is there?
I hear that they're planning to make a trip.
That's the plan.
Oh, boy.
I heard all three of them were coming.
Yep.
Dembski, Behe, and what's his name? William?
Wallace?
Something like that.
Not Philip Johnson?
No, not Johnson. I didn't hear his name.
But yeah, some of the big people in
Hot
ID.
damn, I might get to meet them when I go testify.
But yeah, I think that's in the meeting on September 10th.
Must control fist of
So
death.
far,
I would never assault.
Here's where one of their tactics bit them in the butt. Okay, now from one of the Discovery Institute's people, his name is John West. He had an article as a guest columnist in the San Angelo paper where he quotes from a leading biology journal as supposed evidence for his alternatives to contemporary evolutionary science and how it should be taught in biology textbooks. He quotes from a scientist who wrote in a biology journal, and that scientist himself, Sean B. Carroll, wrote a letter to the editor, and he says, I quote, "I am the author of the article that he, John West, quoted, but did not properly cite, and I am writing to make it absolutely clear that West is gravenly mistaken in taking the excerpted sentence out of full context. It is very misleading of West to try to derive legitimacy for his mission by scouring the scientific literature for a phrase or a sentence and then attaching a meaning, that was not intended and would be far different if read in the entirety of the work related or other work related by the same author. The intent of West and the Discovery Institute is to recast legitimate scientific inquiry into the causes and mechanisms of evolution as doubt upon the process of evolution." And they do this a lot. They're saying, well, these scientists, they disagree. They don't agree that evolution is actually real. And that's not exactly what they're saying. They'll take, like I said, they pull a sentence out of context and say, look, these scientists disagree on evolution. That's not what they're saying.
Yeah.
There's open-ended questions about the mechanisms of biological evolution. And this is going to be for all. There's always new discoveries to be made. But the actual idea that evolution is the way we came about is not disputed in any science, in anywhere. And
it's sort of like saying the theory of gravity via elves with grappling hooks.
Yeah, that's right.
Gravity exists. We know that. But it's probably not little elves with
Have you
grappling
ever
hooks pulling
seen
in.
gravity? Can you touch gravity?
Okay, fine. But we know elves exist, and we know grappling hooks exist. So it must be them.
I know elves exist. I've seen both Lord of the Rings movies.
Exactly. You see? So, intelligent design, I mean, there is no science behind it, as many people have pointed out. But everything I've seen on it is basically a big argument from incredulity.
Yeah.
I can't believe that.
As Amanda would say, argument from
Exactly. I can't believe something as complex as the eye evolved by pure random chance. Well, one, that's not really what the theory says. And two, just because you can't believe it and you don't know the science behind it doesn't mean it's not real. So.
It should be interesting.
Should be. You're going to go meet Dembski. Okay, I have more respect for you now than ever.
I wish I could. If it was nothing more than just sitting in the audience and, having a big, yay atheism sign or something like that. Just to show my support, if nothing else.
Oh, man. But, a lot of people who are buying into this are saying, well, evolution is just a theory. They have a fundamental misunderstanding of the word theory as it's used by scientists. And I tried to explain this to a few people, and they're like, oh, really?
Yeah.
But because it's not like the layman's term theory where, I have a theory that I'll do this or do that.
Theory to layman is just a good idea.
Yeah, good idea. Yeah, something I thought of. And in science, a theory is essentially a cohesive explanation of known facts. You got to have the facts first. the facts support a theory. The theory is the explanation of the facts, but try to explain that to some of these people.
I can picture you trying to explain that to these people, and they're going, that's not in the script.
Exactly.
You're jumping to page 35. Knock it
The
off.
evolutionist is supposed to say, right? You know, I didn't realize that. Can I accept Jesus as my savior now?
And since that never happens, oh boy.
Except in Jack Chick Track.
Exactly.
That's right.
Jack Chick's got it down.
Well, in Jack Chick, we all have the unibrow. We're all pissed off and angry all the time.
Exactly. Yeah.
You know, so, and then once we discover that, oh no, evolution is not real. Oh, we're happy now.
I know.
Or we get pitched into hell by angels at the end.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's cool.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, what else do we have?
Well, the Bush administration, in a new report, has repeatedly mischaracterized scientific facts to bolster its political agenda in areas ranging from abstinence education and condom use to missile defense, according to a 40-page document called Politics in Science in the Bush Administration, which was compiled by the minority staff of the House Government Reform Committee's Special Investigation Division. It marks the launch of a new effort by Representative Henry Waxman and others in Congress to highlight simmering anger among scientists who believe that President Bush, much more than his predecessors, have been spiking science with politics to justify conservative policies in areas such as reproductive rights, embryo research, energy policy, and environmental health. The administration's political interference with science has led to misleading statements by the president, inaccurate responses to Congress, altered websites, suppressed agency reports, erroneous international communication, and a gagging of scientists, according to the report. You can find it at www.politicsandscience.org. Several prestigious scientific journals have editorialized about the Bush administration's dealings in science in recent months, including Science, Nature, and the New England Journal of Medicine. An editor at Science, for example, recently said in print that the administration was injecting politics into the arena of science, which was once immune to this kind of manipulation. Some of the stuff that was reported was the Bush administration's performance measures used to determine the effectiveness of federally funded abstinence-only sex education programs were altered by the administration in ways that made it easier for the program to say that the programs were effective. And information about how to use condoms, along with scientific data showing that sex education does not lead to earlier and increased sexual activity in young people, was removed from a Center for Disease Control and Prevention website.
Yeah.
It does not jive with the administration's policies and basic conservative thought. So we'll either misquote, misrepresent, or just outright not put that particular bit of information into the reports that they send out. Another report that was about taking the Yellowstone.
Yeah.
There was some problems with Yellowstone, and they left out a whole bunch of stuff about pending problems with Yellowstone to make it look like it was in better shape than it actually was.
Yeah. Yeah.
And apparently this is just prevalent throughout the administration. They just...
Yeah, the big push for abstinence only. I mean, while, it's kind of like in an ideal world, go abstinence. But in the real world, unfortunately...
That's not my ideal world.
No, I'm telling you.
Well, again, we're talking about, to prevent pregnancies, prevent disease, stuff like that,
No, abstinence is clearly a part of a balanced sex education program.
Of course.
Yeah. You can,
but you can't rely on that.
But yeah, exactly. Hormones are powerful things.
And you can't distort it and say that, condoms just simply don't work, so you can't rely on them.
Yeah, well, I mean, you can't rely on condoms when you apply them improperly, but you also can't rely on abstinence when you apply it improperly.
Well, the failure rate of abstinence is pretty high.
Yeah.
The failure rate of abstinence is high?
The failure rate of attempted abstinence.
Oh,
I guess attempted abstinence.
Yeah, well, once you've crossed that line, it's not really abstinence anymore, is it?
No.
But nobody's disagreeing that abstinence is a pretty good idea, particularly for teenagers.
Of course.
Because they're not prepared to deal with pregnancies.
Exactly, the physical or the emotional side of it, basically.
And nobody's prepared to deal with some of the diseases that you can catch from unprotected sex.
No.
But the thing is not to bury your head in the sand and pretend like, no, there's no sex. There's no sex.
The point of sex education is to get the idea of what the problems are.
Right.
Not to just, give this one-size-fits-all cure and say, you don't need to know anything, but as long as you don't have sex,
you're okay.
Your member will not fall off.
So instead, they go and learn it in the backseat of a Buick.
Exactly. A lot of European countries
ignorance kills.
Yeah.
Yes.
There are a lot of European countries which have, much better sex education than we've even contemplated in this country.
I think it is Switzerland or Sweden,
I want to say,
has a sex education program that begins in elementary school.
Exactly.
And they have
third grade or something.
They have the lowest teen pregnancy rates in the world, and also the age of first-time sexual activity is much higher than in the U.S. Much higher.
Yeah.
Than U.S.
So if you just teach about it and you don't have...
The evidence shows that sex education clearly does prevent.
And it's also sex education which would lead on to the fact that Americans are just too freaking uptight about it.
Yeah.
If you just relax and it's just something, dude, people do it, get over it, get on with life. Then it's not this dangerous thing that and that's what makes it appealing and exciting. And so you take some of that away, and the pregnancy rates, the disease rates, all that kind of stuff go down because people just don't care.
Well, to be fair, I don't think it's scary, and it's still appealing.
No, but when you're young, it's a curiosity.
Yeah.
A lot of it is curiosity, and if it's just open discussion and everything that's going on, it's it loses an edge. So, and very good point. Ignorance does kill. So. Okay, this is a live call-in show. You have the number on your screen, 477-2288. Should we take a call, or do we want to go
ahead. I can do this stuff later.
Okay, if we got another side spot, we'll do more news. So first we have Kyle. How you doing?
Hey, how you doing? Pretty good, thanks.
Hey.
I overheard you guys talking about bringing up the topic of intelligent design, and I just had a couple of questions. I've been reading some of the literature and studying evolution and things like that, and I wanted to ask what the difference between creation and intelligent design is.
May I?
Yeah. The short answer is none.
There's been a progression. There's been a progression of creationism since since it was first introduced. The idea that evolution is a dangerous idea and shouldn't be taught in American schools. Basically, every single time this has come up, it's been shot down in courts. First, they tried to say that you couldn't teach evolution. Then then that didn't work, so they tried to say that you had to teach creation alongside. That didn't work because creationism was pretty clearly a religion, and that's unconstitutional. So then they came up with creation science, but it was really still dressed up. It was really still just dressed up religion with a few fake things thrown in to look like science.
So,
intelligent design.
What's thrown in? What separates? Because I know creation. One of the things about it is it's inseparable from creation doctrine. But the theory of intelligent design just says that the actions of intelligent agents are detectable.
Well, the thing is,
that a true statement?
The idea of intelligent design came up a few years ago, and if you look into who's been promoting it, it's all fundamentalist Christians.
Right, but you're attacking the person and not the argument.
Well, yeah, so but I'm just trying to show. What they actually have documents that they've written in the past where they pretty much admit you should look up the wedge strategy by Philip Johnson.
Yeah,
they've actually said what we want to do is get religious cultural values back into the schools, but we've found that we can't do that head on. So what we're going to do is excise all religious references out of it, make it as vague as possible, and try to get this accepted by scientists.
Right. So you're saying since these guys are advocating Christianity, the statement that you can detect the actions of intelligence is a false statement.
The reason I'm not necessarily saying that this is a false statement, but I'm saying that what they're doing is not science, because science is a very specific thing in which you come up with a theory, and the theory makes predictions about things that you come up with a hypothesis. The hypothesis, you make predictions about things which can be tested, and then you go from there. What intelligent design has done is said basically, we can decide that that somebody designed something, but we can't say anything at all about the designer.
Right.
And so they've intentionally made it as vague as possible so that they can't be disproven, but by doing that, they've made it impossible to call it science.
Well, how do you predict an intelligent agent? Right. I mean, if you look at Stonehenge. I mean, if you don't know anything about the people who created that, is it right to say that since we don't know anything about the people behind this, it's not designed?
We have very specific knowledge about people who design things because in the best of our experience, what we've found is that living things here on Earth do in fact design things. So we can look at Stonehenge and we can see that they're similar to other things that we know are in fact designed.
Right. So you're saying things that are designed, you tell that if they're designed by fitting with a pre-specified pattern of something that you already have knowledge about.
I see you've read Dembski.
Like the Stonehenge resembles a calendar or a clock, right?
In a way, sure.
There have been recent stories that it resembles something else, but we're not going to get into that.
Right.
What? Is it dirty?
Launchpad for the UFOs?
No.
So let me bring up the bacteria flagellum, and I'm sure you guys have heard a lot about
Oh, here it
this.
comes.
Yep.
So since it resembles an outboard motor, how do you explain something like that through evolution? Something that
In what sense does it resemble an outboard motor?
The same way that a cloud could resemble a donkey?
No, that doesn't have any function. I'm talking about a functional protein structure.
Functions are only something we can describe after the fact, which looks at what things in fact do. I mean, when you say specified, you did say specified, didn't you?
Right.
Okay. When you say specified, you assume ahead of time that someone has been doing the specifying instead of just saying, well, that's the way it happens to work.
Yeah.
But I've never seen a natural force or any other mechanism through a natural process create something that didn't have a function prior to its current existence. Like,
Biology and the study of evolution does not have all the answers. There are a lot of I don't knows in there, and we're looking into it.
I'm arguing on what I
now
know,
the problem with the intelligent design is that they just say, well, okay, you don't know, you don't have an answer, therefore God did it.
No, that's
End of discussion.
Or aliens.
And, some people say that too, yeah. But basically, there's no science to it. They're not predicting anything. They can't make predictions on anything. They can't explain how it happened. They can't explain why it happened.
They're not even publishing articles that try to explain the mechanisms of intelligent design. And all they're doing is they're saying, well, look, there's these holes in evolution, therefore evolution is faulty, therefore it must be designed.
Exactly.
And that's just that's backwards.
There is, if for some reason, if somehow they had new evidence that came out tomorrow that completely demolishes everything to do with evolution, just, some random find, this could not have evolved, that would not automatically mean that creationism wins. Because we have mountains and mountains and mountains of evidence for what we have, for what describes evolution today. We would have to find some new idea that goes along with all the evidence that we currently have. We'd have to find a new theory that incorporates all of that. Creationism doesn't do that. Intelligent design doesn't do that because it just says, God did it, therefore I'm happy.
Or aliens.
Isn't the same thing as God, though.
Get off the aliens?
Well, I would, except that's what they say, because in order to vagify it by making it not God, they say, we can't say what kind of intelligence it is.
Yeah, it could be aliens.
They don't
begs the question of where the aliens come from.
The G word.
Exactly. It pushes it back one
step. But they mean it.
It pushes it back one step.
The only reason why they don't say it is because there are intelligent agents, namely people, and that aren't gods.
So people design people?
I'm sorry?
People designed people?
No, I'm saying people are intelligent agents, but they aren't gods.
Some people are intelligent agents.
So intelligence doesn't necessarily denote God.
Okay, so are you advocating possibly that there was some intelligent design, but it wasn't necessarily, God?
I'm saying from looking at biological structures like the flagellum and cilia on cells, that we can deduce that there may be a higher intelligence than people. But that's not necessarily saying
what specific evidence? There's a difference between finding something which you think is so complicated that you have to make up an explanation for it, and pinpointing some specific evidence that would point to a particular type of intelligence.
No,
if you find that, then we have something to talk about. Because if you find positive evidence that indicates the existence of a particular type of God, then that can be studied scientifically. A general statement that, this is really, really complicated and I can't think of how it could have been created is not science.
Yeah. The argument from incredulity holds absolutely nothing. It's basically just saying, I don't know how it could have happened, therefore, well, you should just stop at saying, I don't know how that happened.
But this isn't an argument from ignorance. You're saying, you talk about incremental evolutionary steps, right? Well, yes. Natural selection only acts on functional proteins that have a function. So if we find a biological structure that if you remove, and you've heard this argument before, if you remove an amino acid or a part of a protein and the function stops, how do you get up to a structure?
Because you're assuming that it needs so many units in there to function. And if you take this one out, then it fails.
It may have a different function.
That's absolutely true. However, this
how do you get
complex function
with natural selection
came from a simpler function. Now, how that actually happened, again, we're looking into it. But again, we have seen a lot of evidence that for evolution.
You're doing the same thing that you said I was doing by saying we don't know. We're going to say that evolution happened, even though we don't know how it works.
No. Wait a minute. We say evolution happened because we see particular evidence that evolution happened. We see, fossil records. We see genetic similarity. We see things from a wide variety of fields that tend to support evolution. Now, the question of where the cilia came from... What?
Sorry?
Huh?
You can arrange complex structures in a series, but that doesn't prove that you can get from one structure to another via natural selection.
Right, but to give you an example, do you know the name Michael Behe, I assume?
Yeah.
Who wrote Darwin's Black Box?
Yes.
Behe, of all the people in the intelligent design movement, he is the one who is most qualified to comment on Darwinism because he's actually a person who has published papers on biochemistry.
Right.
If you read the beginning of his book, Behe says, I see no reason to doubt that all animals come from a common ancestor and that the general mechanism of natural selection works.
Right.
So, other people may deny the idea that evolution happens at all, but to the person in your movement who is most qualified to discuss evolution, even he doesn't deny the fact that, as a general principle, evolution happens.
Right. Well, I agree that common descent for me isn't a problem. Let me say one more thing, and then I'll let some other callers come in.
Okay.
So if you have a structure that's irreducibly complex, and you say that evolution can probably lead up there through transitional forms, we just haven't found the pathway yet. That you could posit an infinite number of possibilities. And then you say to the researchers, unless you can test an infinite number of possibilities and find otherwise, we're going to say that evolution happened and it led up to this irreducible complex biological structure.
Yeah. Isn't there a problem with that term, irreducible complexity?
It's never actually been demonstrated that any real thing is actually irreducibly complex. Behe uses the example of a mousetrap when he first talks about irreducible complexity, and a lot of people came along afterwards and showed, no, it's not irreducibly complex. You can remove lots of parts of a mousetrap, and it still catches mice. Not as well as an entire mousetrap, but that's the point. It gets better and better as you add more parts.
I haven't read any literature saying that they could rearrange a mousetrap without rearranging the structure and the way it catches mice simultaneously. That's compounding the probability of that. You
should look up, search the internet for the name Alan Orr, O-R-R, together with Michael Behe, and the word mousetrap. And he's got this whole article about reducing a mousetrap.
Yeah, I have seen that. It is a fairly nifty argument. So. But again, I mean, it doesn't prove anything. Granted, it just goes to show that, you know, just because you can come up with something and say, look, this is so complicated, I can't imagine it would just poof into existence, doesn't mean that it is.
It's not about complexity. It's about something that doesn't have a function, and then saying that natural selection can somehow get around that.
Are you saying that certain things don't have a function, or?
I'm saying you brought up the mousetrap, and the bacteria flagellum. I'll go back and look up that Orr paper, like you suggested. You want me to do that, and then I can call back next week?
Okay. I won't be here. Martin could talk about it.
Okay.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you for calling.
Bye-bye.
Okay. Next, we have...
Sorry, I kind of hogged that call. I just love that subject.
We have our pet subjects here sometimes. So, okay. Dean, how you doing?
Hey, guys. How y'all doing?
Hey,
where's Martin today?
I'm not too sure, actually. He said he wasn't going to be here today, but I didn't get the details on why not. So.
Oh, okay. Hey,
sorry, you have to make do with me.
Well, that Ray Moore guy, oh boy,
Roy,
kind of out there. Yep. But you know, it gets me. What was it, a few months ago when President Bush was saying how we want Iraq to be secular?
Yes.
Well, what about our own country? You know, and to me,
who wants secular Christians?
Call Ray Moore, Judge Ray Moore, the Ayatollah.
Yeah.
Because he's got his group, and to me, he's kind of ignoring the Constitution and having his own law.
Yeah.
You know?
And one or two of the other justices have come out and said, you know, hang on a second, he didn't talk to me about any of this.
Yeah, he snuck that monument in the back door at night.
Exactly. Right. At night, he had his own, well, not his own, but Coral Ridge Ministries.
Yeah.
His little pet project type thing there. They came in and filmed it, and then when he got sued for it, they sold the videotapes of him putting him in for the defense fund.
Oh, yeah.
So if you can film yourself murdering somebody, and then when you go to court, you sell the videos for it to get money to defend yourself.
That's moral. Yeah. Anyway. Hey, I saw, the movie Sergeant York? It's an old one.
Sounds vaguely familiar.
Yeah. Oh, well, anyway, it's a big, World War I movie, and he became religious, and it was a whole God and country argument. It was a real good movie. But, that's why Martin's real good with the Bible quotes, you know.
Yeah.
What's the one, give unto Caesar what is Caesar's, in one of the gods, or whatever?
Yeah.
Isn't that the Bible stating separation of church and state?
I ain't touching that one.
That's a taxation argument.
I was thinking about that, and it was kind of, because the school prayer thing, we can go to the Matthew 6:5 or whatever about, praying in the closet thing or whatever. But it was just something I saw and I was thinking about. I want to throw that at you and see
you can always pull Bible quotes out for whatever you want.
I read an article on the internet the other day with someone who wrote about, I believe it's in Matthew, where it talks about at the end of the times when people are put on the left and right side of God, and the people on the right will be called sheep, and the people on the left called goats, and the goats get tossed out into hell. And they ask why. Well, it says, it's how you treated the least of my brethren.
I just kind of see God up there with a big old,
and
handle, cha-ching.
But the point of the article was that...
why do we even have that lever?
The point of the article is that these conservative Christians were not behaving as they're supposed to be taught. Yeah. And that, when you do things to like the guy standing on the corner with the cardboard sign, and you thumb your nose up at him, well, you're just setting yourself up to get cha-chinged.
Hey, well, that's pretty much it I wanted to talk about there. But, one thing, though, what gets me that why people don't get the concept of evolution is, I guess it's because our generations are so spaced out. If you look at viruses, influenza virus, what is it? In a year, they get 1 million generation changes. Or something. I forgot the exact.
Yeah, you never had the same cold twice.
Yeah.
Yeah, and a human living, 50, 60, 80 years, and you get down to their grandkid, and then, the generational change is slow. Yeah. And in a lifetime, you don't see this slow, it's just slow. But in the scheme of things,
right.
The age of the Earth, that's what I think that the people have a hard time grasping. It's, it grasps 1 billion years. And see how many generations go along in 1 billion years.
And a lot of them do argue that microevolution can happen.
It is happening.
A moth to a different kind of moth, a little different coloration. They'll grant you that one.
During the Industrial Revolution.
But their argument is that an amoeba never gave birth to a mouse.
No, they're trying to go directly from a cellular thing to multicellular organism with a spine.
What they want to prove is a transition is some kind of a mutant freak that could never actually exist.
Yeah, right.
And that's the only thing they'll accept.
Yeah, just that it's just the concept of the age and what a billion years really is, and think about it.
Yeah.
I mean, who gets to live to 100?
Yeah.
You know, so I think that's why. Guys, great show, and y'all have a good day.
Okay, bye.
Of course, that's why some of them are so passionate about arguing that the Earth can't be
exactly
4 billion years old.
If you
or
give it
whatever
that much time, maybe it'll actually happen. And we can't have that. So, okay, let's go to Joyce. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Quite well.
Hi, Joyce.
This question is back to the science and policy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. You said that the administration is misleading. They're misstating scientific evidence.
Yeah, it appears that they're, according to the report, there are it's simply omitting key facts or misrepresenting what scientific evidence shows in one case or another. And if it disagrees with the administration's ideology, then they don't publish it as accurately as they should.
Okay. What I call that and the changing of the websites is lying.
Well, yeah, that's what I call it too.
That's what I want to hear people say.
Yeah, but it's diplomacy.
Yeah. When you tell people that there's an imminent nuclear threat from Iraq and there's not, and you get people killed over it, I have a problem with that. We impeached a president for lying about sex. Well, you know, Clinton lied about sex, 0 soldiers killed. George Bush lies about nuclear terrorists from Iraq, and now we're up to 500 or 600 soldiers dead. It's the numbers piling up.
It's like 1 or 2 a day on average since Bush declared the conflict over.
Right.
Right. But as long as the media continues to say misstatements and misrepresented, we're never going to get to the essence of it, which is he's lying about scientific evidence.
Yeah. It's worse than that. There's also another report that states that progressive nonprofit groups that challenge the Bush administration's policies get a little special treatment. They get their policies, or their federal funding gets reviewed and audited, and there's some harassment going on.
Wow. Do they have any evidence of this? Or
there was another report that came out.
Give the website again.
Yeah, hang on, let me find it. The policy, the report on the science was www.politicsandscience.org, and the one about the muffling the left was where's that? There's a group called OMB Watch, and their website has a link to this. I'm not seeing it on this report though.
Okay. Probably do a search though for OMB.
You go OMB Watch and you'll find it, because they were the ones that put out the report. And there's a
control room
website
is scolding us.
The website. Yeah, well, apparently if you disagree with the Bush administration, they'll come out after you. I got my story out of the Village Voice.
That's going to that report. So.
Yeah, but they've proven that was a Wilson mess, outing the CIA agent.
Oh, yeah.
That's getting significantly more political than it is. And so.
But I just spoke to the point of they'll go after you.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thanks, Sean. Bye.
We got a message saying this is not a political show. Tune in every 2 weeks to the non-profits, because we are a political show.
Yes, they do not hold their opinions back.
And we've got the non-profits faction here, which is
why we're getting political.
Yeah. Sorry about that.
I'm not.
Okay. Only in relation to the other nonprofit shows. All right, we have Bill. How you doing?
Yeah, hi, how are you?
Hi.
My question is basically to follow up on the first caller's questions about design.
Okay.
You had mentioned that the proof of evolution, one of the guys on the show mentioned that the fossil record was part of the proof that evolution actually took place, and that's how we all exist, because we evolved from some kind of fish that jumped on land, who became a pig, who became a...
There's the freakish Newton.
That's how we're going to have a problem.
But basically what I'm getting at is that the fossil record through the years, which hasn't been very long since this theory of evolution has been taught to kids in the United States, has kind of changed a little bit in the last 10 years. Yeah. And the fossil record, lacking the evidence of things going into their transitional state, not being there, is kind of science proving that theory doesn't make much sense. And also you have to consider that science has also proven or brought to the attention of the American people within the last few years that biodiversity is essential for us to have the planet that we have. So we couldn't have evolved, scientifically speaking, we couldn't have evolved if we didn't have biodiversity from the start. So it seems to me that you guys are still hanging on to the theory that was pushed on children in a public school system to deny creation and to deny God himself.
Well, the planet we had 4 billion years ago.
If we can keep this subject on a scientific basis opposed to an atheist topic, then we might get somewhere.
Okay. We have genetic evidence and we have fossil evidence that shows a pretty good picture of what happened through the ages. It's not perfect. It's not complete. Fossils are pretty hard to form, actually. But it gives a fairly good idea of what could have happened. And we're funding, more every week that backs things up. Again, is there absolutely any shred of evidence that some intelligent being, which, let's face it, we're talking about God here, actually exists and, came down, took a rib out of me and created a woman? And then, it kind of, went forth from there. Do we have absolutely any shred of evidence that happened?
About the same amount of evidence that we have.
When's the last time you went to a natural science museum? Or read Talk Origins website? Excellent website. It's got a lot of articles on there. Again, we have mountains of evidence for this.
I'd like to say something about the fossil record. If you go to talkorigins.org and look in their hominids section, you'll see an interesting page where they show a sequence of skulls. One of them is clearly an ape, and one of them is clearly a human. The others that are that go in between in the pictured sequence, they keep a score of what creationists have said about these, because creationists, of course, have to say that these are either definitely apes or definitely humans, and they do say that with each skull.
And I think science
but they say different things.
Well,
half the creationists say yes, this is definitely an ape, no question. Half of them say, yes, this is definitely a human, no question.
Well,
they can't even.
You asked me where the evidence that points to creation would be, and I would suggest that the evidence would be in the same place that you guys look to support the theory of evolution, because the evidence that you were talking about now has changed over the last 20 years since I was in school. I have a child who's in middle school now, and they're no longer pictures of all these different monkey men. Okay, and so the monkey men, science have realized, has been really hurting them and shooting themselves in the foot that they came out with back in the late 70s and early 80s, putting these monkey men inside these science books and saying that this was science. Okay, and not only did the monkey men get excluded from the book, but also they changed millions of years to now billions of years, because 20 years ago,
it was not billion. How old are you that it was not billions of years when you were in school?
Oh, definitely was. It was millions of years when I was in school.
Exactly.
Only 10, 15, 20 years ago did people refer to the evolution process taking millions of years, hundreds of millions. Now it's billions, multiple billions, because
the universe is only about 12 or 13.
Could happen. They just could happen over billions of years. Because within millions of years, we could say, well, probably couldn't happen. Because we could, do some scientific study and research and show that, millions are kind of short. We can't really pass this on to people.
With all due respect, you have no idea how the scientific method works.
I guarantee you go look at a book.
And I would suggest that you read talkorigins.org and find a good reference on evolution.
Look at a science book published 25 years ago, and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about.
Of course, science is going to evolve.
Science changes.
Evolves now,
we learn things over time.
Right, we get more evidence, more
exactly.
You guys are hung up on this evolution thing. Science books evolve, science evolve, everything.
Yeah, we happen to be hung up on evidence.
I think you're confused.
Shame on us.
Evolution opposed to adaptation. Or things that...
there is no difference. Evolution and adaptation is the same thing. You adapt to certain surroundings.
No, there is a big difference between...
Yeah, you're battling with semantics here.
I adapt and put a coat on. I don't evolve this coat that comes onto my body. So there's totally difference between adaptation and evolution.
That's a pretty bad example, but okay.
It is a bad example, but
it's one of you're a classic case of one of those people that the only way you would recognize a transitional fossil is if it was a freakish mutant that couldn't possibly exist.
Exactly. If you have a fish with legs.
Wouldn't that have to happen in order for
No. If that happened, that would disprove.
Tell me why a whale has a hip bone.
I don't know. Tell me why a shark has a fin. I mean, what does that mean?
Okay, well, because
there are papers you can look up.
You can read all that stuff.
Why sharks
and we're going to run out of time before we can actually describe all this.
My point is that you're still hanging on to things that have been taught to children. Okay, and you're not trying to make.
I don't know what school you went to, but they didn't teach it very well in my school.
Yeah, they didn't teach it very well.
99% of the science. I mean, us and 99.999% of practicing biologists in the world.
Those same children became college students who they taught college students.
Okay, so you know more about biology than they do.
And they finally took the evidence and made a decision for themselves.
Okay.
And so that was your turn.
Oh,
but I appreciate the taking my call. And just remember, biodiversity is definitely needed, and you can't have evolution and not have biodiversity. So you guys are like you're not really getting anywhere.
Thanks for the call. Okay, there is just so much mountains of evidence for a lot of this stuff.
And also describing how difficult it is to penetrate through the thick-headedness of people who they just absolutely refuse to hear this. They don't want to hear it. They don't want to know that this is it. So they just, no, my head's in the sand.
We do admit science does change. Different things are being said now than was said 20 years ago. It's because we learn things.
When you learn more evidence, you have to change theories to adapt to the evidence, which the Bible has never done.
The essential theory of natural selection hasn't really altered. The mechanisms within the theory have changed.
The Earth has not changed the last 20 years.
But
I know.
But the theory that man evolved from lower species isn't changed in 150 years.
Yeah.
We just got some new evidence on some of the mechanisms.
Exactly.
I mean, Darwin didn't have any access to genetic research.
Exactly. Yes, we know it is pretty much it's as close to a fact as you can get that evolution happened. Now, it's the exact mechanisms.
Oh, it's a fact that evolution happens.
It's the mechanisms behind it that we're still looking into, and we're not quite positive on how that happened. Was it natural selection? Was it punctuated equilibrium?
Yeah, how much effect does an asteroid eliminating about 90% of the entire world's population have on evolution?
Exactly. Is it things like that? Is it genetics? Is it
all kinds of stuff?
Is it environmental
It's a very complicated and large field of study.
Yeah, we don't know exactly how it happened, but we know pretty much for a fact that it did happen. So, and if it gets disproved tomorrow, evolution or creationists don't win. So. Because there's more to it than that.
Okay.
Did you have anything?
No.
I'm confused at what time we go on. What time we come off?
We got another half an hour.
Oh, okay.
So keep the calls coming. We have Bill on line 2. How you doing?
Hey, how y'all doing?
Hey.
So y'all don't believe in get in, please.
Nope,
I believe you're an idiot.
Yep. We'll stick to that one. Okay,
I think you need to work on your routine a little more before you take it to a club.
Before you go, use a little policy. But we have John. How you doing?
Hello?
Hey.
Hello.
Hi, John.
Got a question?
Can y'all hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yeah.
Oh. Well, why would y'all think it ain't a young universe?
We don't.
It's a young universe.
Well, define young.
Well, let me see, like 49 million?
Okay.
Wouldn't you say it would be about 49 million?
Current estimates for the universe are around, I want to say around 13 billion years.
I think it's 15.
13 to 15. It's somewhere in that range of billions of years.
Well, I'd be figuring it's a young universe. You know, I wouldn't figure it's, out there in the billions.
Okay. Is there any reason for? I mean, do you have some evidence for that, or why, basically?
Well, no, I would be just figuring that it'd be a young universe.
Do you just prefer the 400 million years?
What's that?
Do you just prefer the 400 million years?
No, 49 million.
49 million years.
Okay. Okay, I'm sorry. Do you just prefer that number?
You should listen better, Ashley.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'd rather prefer the million instead of that billion.
Okay, well.
Because, like, if it's that old, like, I'm on the end of the runway, Is it going to take off and keep on going, or is it just going to not take off and
We prefer the science behind it that says, 12 to 13 billion, but got anything else for us?
Not today.
Okay.
I'll talk to y'all later.
Okay, thanks, Sean. Okay, 49 billion. It's kind of an awkward number.
49 million.
That's also kind of an awkward number.
Yeah.
15 billion. Kind of nice.
Works better than 6,000.
Yeah. Yeah. 6,000 also kind of awkward.
Well, they can't even get that one straight because sometimes it's 6,000, sometimes it's 12,000.
Well, it's 6,000 years for the Earth.
Oh, right.
Not the universe.
I thought the Earth was created on
but the Earth is the center of the universe.
Yeah. Okay, so at 6,000 years and 6 days.
But basically, what we're hung up on, as the other caller said, is that you have to study this and you have to demonstrate that what you're telling us has something behind it, some facts, some reason to accept it, and creation and religion doesn't offer that. In fact, last time you talked to a creationist, what did they say? You got to have faith. Sorry, that's the one thing I can't give you. Just can't do it.
Yeah.
If you're not going to take your word for it, you got to show it to me. I'm, that old saying that I'm from Missouri, show me. Well, I'm not from Missouri, but you still got to show me.
If you have actual evidence backing up your beliefs and your claims, then I'm all for it. Go ahead and present that. Let's see. Let's take a look at it and see what you got.
There's a difference between deciding something by the scientific method and deciding something by saying, I just feel like that would be a good idea.
49 million.
49,275,421.2.
Yep, on Wednesday afternoon, apparently.
At 9 a.m.
At tea time.
At tea time.
That's right.
Okay, well, let's go to Alfonzo on line 1. How you doing?
Here we go again, guys. These guys, I talked to you a couple of weeks ago concerning the spirits and all of that.
Yeah.
I don't know how you guys do it. It's amazing that the Christians let y'all run around this long.
Yeah, it's fun.
That's a scary thought.
It amazes me as far as the evolution thing goes when you can look as simple as the bugs. If you talk to like some of the drug makers, what worked on the crickets last year ain't going to work on them this year.
Yeah.
And so you would have to assume that, according to the Christian standpoint of view, that some of these bugs running around are more advanced than humans. And that, it would seem like we would be able to adapt to things in our, let's say, general reach and things that may have killed us off, like the plague in the beginning of the founding of America. Doesn't necessarily work now. And you have to chalk it up to evolution or adaptation, which is, I agree with you, the same thing.
Yeah, I've always they have all these antibacterial soaps and all these kind of things. You wash your food with antibacterial soaps, the bugs get resistant to it, so it becomes less effective. Give it 150 years, we'll be napalming our kitchen floors to keep them clean.
We'll be drinking radiation, like,
Exactly.
You fire up the bug spray.
They think the Earth is so young, but we can definitely tie that into something very simple as far as the caves and the stalactites and stalagmites. We know that we find a cave in, let's say, 1847, and then stalactites, stalagmites, for only like a couple of inches. In 50 years, there are 2 more inches.
Could measure the water flow in the sedimentary, 30-foot
stalactite, well, then you do 2 years times whatever, and there you go, at least. You know?
Yeah.
So good work, guys. I know y'all are getting tired, but keep pounding.
Okay. Thanks, Colin. And just to remind everyone out there, any atheist, agnostic, or atheist-friendly people, we have bagel shop meetings every Sunday morning at 10:30. 307 West 5th Street, corner of Lavaca and Guadalupe. And anyone's welcome to come down and hang out, meet like-minded folk, but it's only for the non-religious atheist folks out there. You come and preach, and we will ex-bagelify you. So
you have to actually be a part of the group to get ex-bagelified.
That's true. Ex-bagelification is.
But you might get a stern lecture.
Vic will come over and pick you up.
All your butt out the door. So. Okay, and
I'll smite you.
Okay. Ian, turn off your TV.
All right, I got a couple questions for you. Number one, I'm really into more modern of the science, genetics, that kind of stuff. I've never really did history of the universe or any of that kind of stuff. So when you talk about the science behind it, what exactly is the science behind the prediction of how old the universe is?
Okay.
Well, that's unrelated to genetics, of course.
Yeah, that is definitely not anything to do with evolution. But for that, I've seen a little bit on it. I'm not versed in too much of it. But essentially, they can usually tell. I know they can estimate the current size of the universe, essentially. Based on rates that it's expanding and different theories that we have in place, to get back to a single point, it must have taken 13 billion years. And then to back that up, we've got things like the microwave background radiation. Essentially, there's just prevalent radiation across the background of the entire universe. We can see redshifts of stars, and the farther away they are, the more the redshift it is. By the elements that they're composed of, all these
In other
kind of
words,
things.
you could take about a week to try to explain that.
Exactly. It's
there is
fairly
a
complicated.
page on it on the Age of the Earth at talkorigins.org, though.
Okay.
All right. Yeah, this is the first time I've seen your show. It kind of caught my eye, so I'll probably be watching. How often are you guys on the air?
We are on every Sunday night, 4:30 to 6, and we have reruns on Tuesday night, 4:30 to 6 also.
All right, well, good deal.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, thanks, Sean.
You too.
See ya.
Okay, and next we have got John. How you doing?
Hello.
Hey.
Hey, guys. I was wondering if you guys could explain the Big Bang to me. Is that what you guys believe in?
Believe in, no. Have evidence for, yeah.
What exactly is that?
It's the idea that the universe came from basically something a really long time ago where it essentially exploded from one single point.
And what was there before that, though?
We don't know. We're looking into
There
it.
are a variety of explanations for that, including multidimensional stuff and the really weird idea that time slows down as you move backward in time, according to relativity, to the point where it makes no sense to talk about before that because there's no time at that point. It's really odd.
Yeah, it's a mind bender.
I'm kind of confused with all of it. It seems really strange.
Yeah, you're
when
not
I think
alone on
about
that
the Big Bang, and I think about all the laws and order and stuff that you see around scientific. As you guys look into the science of everything, it seems like everything is made of law and order, and it seems like Big Bang seems really chaotic to me. And
actually, that show was canceled, wasn't it?
Law and Order? No, they got 3 of them.
Oh.
No, I mean, there is a fair bit of evidence for something like that. I mean, it depends on what scale you're looking at. If you look through a telescope or something like that, yeah, you see a lot of order, actually, a whole galaxy spinning around.
We have gravity, there's all these laws and all this stuff, and it seems like, why? You know, if there's no
But then you've also got, but then again, if this is, again, some, designed universe where everything is, perfect, then why do we have, galaxies, stars, and stuff like that being, literally ripped apart?
They're being created and destroyed? It's
basically,
kind of practical, I guess.
You need to remember that the word law is applied in 2 different contexts. When we talk about, laws as in society, law and order, that kind of thing, we're talking about things that people made for a specific purpose. When
so
you
can't control gravity.
When you talk about when you talk about scientific laws, that's a whole different animal. That's just us studying the universe and observing the way things do in fact happen. We observe that when things of a certain mass are near each other, then they tend to attract, and it's more obvious the bigger they are. So we see that that's happening, and we write that down, and we call it a law. Does that mean it's set up for a reason? Not really.
Well, what do you guys think about when you're talking about genetics and stuff, and you look at DNA and how complex and it's like a puzzle, like the double helix thing, and how everything comes together, and we're now with science starting to unravel, how all that stuff works. But it seems that, like, I think what we share 98% of the same genetics with monkeys.
With a chimpanzee.
Yeah.
Chimpanzees or whatever it is. Yeah. But I'm not that scientific, but...
Yeah, it's not my area of expertise either, but...
Again, there is a fair bit of, a good stuff in there. I mean, I'm trying to figure out how to word this correctly. But there's also, again, if let's say that there was some, very intelligent being designed this, why did he put in so much duplication? Why are there so many errors when it's replicated? Why are there vast strands of it that are essentially junk? Why are we using the same thing, in us as we're using in microbes? Isn't there a better way to do things? Humans, while not the worst design in the world, we're certainly not the best either. There are a lot of animals out there that can trump us in many, many, many aspects.
Right.
And so intelligent design, some of it's pretty dumb. So, look at all the heart diseases people are
God designed our immune system to protect us from diseases that he designed.
But I think I believe in God personally, and I don't judge you guys for not believing it. Everyone has their right to their opinion. But I think that you guys, a lot of people think that atheists have no faith. But I think you guys have an extreme amount of faith in these theories that you're all talking about, that you believe in, that you base all this stuff in. Like you said, there's no reason to talk about what's before the Big Bang, because it's all based on theory. Everything that y'all believe in, it's all based on theories.
Because it's based on a scientific process. Science has essentially set out a process of here's how you do things. And once you come up with an idea or a conclusion on, this is my idea of how gravity works, for instance, then all the other scientists out there try and jump on top of that and rip it to shreds because they want their part of the fame. And if they can rip it to shreds, that's good for them.
Not so much that is that, in order to verify something, you got to be able to replicate it again. If I say this is what's happening, well, can I do the same test and get the same results, and can I show that this is something that can be duplicated in experimentation?
Yeah, the reason why we generally trust scientists is, again, because we know that the process is in place so that if they come up with something really wacky and that's just plain wrong, chances are it won't last too long.
Which is why it's important that there's no articles in peer-reviewed journals for intelligent design.
Exactly.
And in that, if you had some competing theory to biological evolution, you post your evidence in a peer-reviewed journal as a scientist would do. And other scientists can look at it and say, okay, I found the same thing you found. I didn't find the same thing you found, or there's some flaw in your methodology. There's self-correcting mechanisms that make this legitimate. Whereas,
You guys are all scientists?
No.
Not by any stretch.
So what do y'all?
A lot of us are personally interested.
Is this coincidence to you? I mean, that we're here. This whole fact that you're alive is just a mere coincidence of some bizarre event that happened 13 billion years ago?
To the extent that, for instance, my particular parents didn't have to meet and, might have gone off and married somebody else. For instance, in that sense, I think it's largely luck that this particular life form that I call me happens to be here. I mean, that's very convenient. That doesn't mean that there wouldn't have been other kids instead of me.
Yeah.
So, but you don't believe in God. Believe in no spiritual. Is that what atheist means exactly? I don't know. I'm kind of confused between agnostic and atheist. What's the difference?
Okay.
Fact page.
Yes, it is on our fact on our website. But basically, they deal with two slightly separate things. Theism and atheism are what you believe. Gnosticism and agnosticism are what you know. Most people out there, if you actually ask them, are agnostic theists. They don't know for a fact that God does not or does exist, but they believe that he does. We are agnostic atheists. I can't prove that God doesn't exist. I don't know for a fact that he doesn't exist. But given the lack of evidence for it, I choose not to believe. You could be Jerry Falwell is most likely a Gnostic theist. He thinks he knows for a fact and believes that there is a God. He's wrong.
Right. But I don't have faith that there is no God, because I've always said that if you present the right kind of evidence, then I could be persuaded to believe in a God. I don't discount all possibility that there might be one. I just don't think that there is.
Yeah.
Most
different from faith.
More like an opinion. It's just your opinion that there's not one, which opinions can be swayed. I see what you're saying.
In a sense, yes. Most common definitions that we've heard for God, typically in this country, it's a Judeo-Christian God, meaning it's some force, or not exactly a person, but it's some kind of force that is sentient. It knows what it's doing, and it's all powerful, all knowing, and all loving. For that, I am a Gnostic atheist. That God does not exist, period. No chance. Now, if some South Sea Islander wants to come up and says, that totem pole over there, that's my God, okay, fine, I can go up and rap on it. And sure, it's real. It exists. But they may say that, it controls our weather. Well, that I may have issues with. But as for the existence of their God, I'll take that, sure. Why not? So, but again, for most definitions that we've heard, not going to happen.
Cool. Well, thanks for clearing that stuff up, man.
Okay. Thanks for calling.
Good day.
All right. What do we want to do? Okay, we have about 10 minutes left. Take a couple more calls.
I could point out the Kristof article real quick.
That would actually be good. Yeah. We'll continue the calls. We have 2 callers on the line right now.
I won't take long on this. I'd just like to mention that there was a really good editorial, and usually we don't mention editorials on the show because, after all, they're just other people's opinions. Everyone has them.
Yeah, we have enough of them.
Yeah. But if you're an atheist, you might enjoy this. Go to nytimes.com. Check out the opinion. It requires a free registration. You just have to tell them who you are. But log in, check out their editorial page, look at recent columns by Nicholas D. Kristof. He wrote an excellent article about faith in America and how the statistics for people who believe weird stuff is just way more than in any industrialized country anywhere in the world. Do you want me to go into details, or is that enough?
Well, I know they had a couple percentages in there.
Let's see. Americans are 3 times as likely to believe in the virgin birth of Jesus, 83%, as in evolution, 28%.
We've seen that today.
Yep. Americans believe, 58% to 40%, that it is necessary to be moral to believe in God to be moral.
And
so you cannot be moral unless you believe in God.
Yeah, we obviously beg to differ.
In France, only 13% agree with that, for instance. But, they're all just a bunch of...
They're the French, damn it.
Exactly.
Why do you think I have this outrageous accent?
All right.
Anyway, it's very amusing. nytimes.com, written by Nicholas Kristof. That's Kristof.
Yeah. All right. We will go on to Jim. How you doing?
I'm doing very well. Thank you very much. I appreciate you taking my call.
Okay.
I haven't been able to see y'all for a few weeks, so it's good to see y'all back on the air.
Thank you.
I've been out of town. Actually, John kind of hit a lot of the points that I was going to kind of bring up. I have always found it interesting that between theists and atheists, that evolution always seems to be the rallying cry as to what we have faith in. And I'm kind of curious as to what your opinions are on that, because it seems that we both have the opportunity to look at the exact same set of facts, and then it's what we interpret it as. I'm not an expert on this by any stretch of the imagination, but I have read articles by creationists that are very logical, or at least in my opinion. I don't have the scientific background to dispute it, but seem to be very logically put forward, taking the same set of facts that let's say an evolutionist, let's not say an atheist per se, will look at and will draw a different conclusion. So I'm kind of curious as to what your opinions are on that. Why do you think that is? If you think that perhaps that's just a basic mindset of having faith in man's reason as the end-all to be-all, as opposed to possibly the belief that there may be something more out there.
Yeah.
And that's about all I have to ask.
Okay.
Well,
I hear you biting your tongue.
Yeah. If you go to the major creationist websites, one of the things that you'll notice is that they all have this. Most of them have this statement of faith that's linked from the front page. For instance, the Center for Creation Research and a variety of other ones have that. And if you go there, what they basically say is, you cannot be a member of your organization unless you accept the view that boom, boom, boom. Unless you accept the view that God created the universe, that things are in kinds and don't vary outside those kinds, that sort of thing. In other words, they start with what their conclusion is going to be, and if you ever wind up disagreeing with that conclusion, then you're out of the organization. Science doesn't have that. I mean, it may look like that to an outsider that they all have to toe the party line for evolution or whatever. But the fact is, science doesn't begin with a conclusion. They begin with the evidence and then follow the evidence where it seems to lead them. They start with ideas and then they support it with evidence, as opposed to starting with a conclusion and looking for conclusions that support that. So in that sense, I would say that, yeah, the idea of faith in general is very conducive to creationism.
And unfortunately, people do have a bias. It's almost impossible to get around that. The scientific process, since it deals with so many different people at so many different levels, and it's checked and cross-checked and triple-checked, it rules out, it filters a lot of that out. But typically, people grow up religious, on average. So on average, they'll typically stick with that. Now, if you start out being religious and you read, evidence or reasoning that goes along with that, typically you're more willing to accept that than if you read evidence going to the contrary. And so, again, when I read the creationist books by Behe or the case
Dembski.
The Case for Faith and stuff like that, I mean, I can see just these huge gaping logical holes in it that just essentially it just doesn't make any sense to me. I just see ways that this doesn't work. Again, a religious person is going to read that and just see, see, there are all the reasons I believe. I'm perfectly backed up on them. But again, it's where you're coming from. So, and how deeply you look into it.
I'd also like to say that the difference between evolution and creation is not strictly along religious lines, because the fact is, like all people, the majority of practicing scientists are religious, and the majority of practicing scientists also accept evolution. Occasionally, you'll see a list of like a few hundred names of people who believe in the creationist view, but that pales in comparison to the hundreds of thousands of scientists out there who don't accept it, and most of them are religious. It's not a theism-atheism thing.
Okay.
Project Steve.
I was just going to say thank you very much for answering my question. I was just kind of curious about it. I'm a little sick today, so.
Okay.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
What is
Like I always
Steve?
enjoy your show.
Thanks for calling.
Oh, Project Steve.
Project Steve is lots of fun. This was, I think you know this a little better, but.
Yeah, it was done by the, National Center for Science Education. They collected a list of 250 names of people who were willing to sign a statement saying, yeah, we think intelligent design makes no sense and evolution is correct. And they were all named Steve. They all had relevant biological degrees. And of course, what this is intended to show is, if this many people just named Steve believe this,
exactly.
Think how many, hundreds of thousands of people in general.
Because a lot of creationists and intelligent design come out with their list of, look at these major scientists who believe in creationism.
Right.
And it's like, okay, fine, you got 15. We have 250 Steves that believe in evolution. So.
That's clever.
Okay, we got time for one more quick call, I think. Benjamin, how are you?
Pretty good. How are you doing?
Quite well.
I was just curious about your guys' view on the whole world. Well, there's like 90% of the world believes in a higher power, God, Allah, whoever, whatever that is. I just don't understand why that many people could be fooled. It's just beyond belief how.
There are
what was it? 4 billion people on the or 40 billion people on the planet.
Yeah,
6 billion.
How could that many people be fooled? And I'm one of those people.
Yeah.
I mean, I believe in a higher power, and I also believe in evolution too.
Yeah, I think a lot of people out there don't really critically look at their beliefs. Religion has isn't day to day to them. They don't base every decision like, what should I have for lunch today, based on their religion. They just kind of go along with it. Once in a while it comes up. Maybe they go to church once in a while, go to religious holidays, stuff like that. But it's not really in the forefront of their mind exactly, the reasoning and logical arguments behind it. Mm-hmm. Once you start looking at something and really analyzing what it's saying and what its tenets are, that's when it starts falling apart.
I think it's just like a primal thing that started a long time ago. Like somebody saw a shooting star go across the sky, or somebody lit a fart by the campfire. There was God,
I can imagine. Lots of people believe lots of things. They're not all right, but being wrong doesn't make you stupid. It just makes you wrong.
Okay, but we got to go. We have exactly 10 seconds left, so give us a call next week.
Adios, amigos.
Okay, thanks for calling.